Hey friend, and welcome back to RGD Gaming, least toxic, most fun community in all gaming. And oh boy, is this something I never really wanted to do. Me, a no-name channel, going up against the biggest Wild Rift creator. The odds heavily stacked against me, and anything I say will be seen as irrelevant or even mocked. However, allow me to make a case that some of the things that Darkbreakers said are impossible to do and execute right now, and they'd actually cause more problems than they solve. And then I'll offer a couple of solutions for the issues that we're experiencing. I want to take a second here just to say that in general I like Darkbreaker. I watch a lot of his content. He's obviously super talented, he's likable, hardworking, and he put out a ton of content or a ton of videos. And as a new creator, I totally respect that he did that. But him and I definitely have some areas that we see things a little bit differently on. And if you've watched any of my videos or even just listened to my intro, you'll know that, we can see things differently from the standpoint of how we think about the Wild Rift community. There have been times I've seen him cross a line and insult players in a way that I didn't care for. And those people are, after all, his audience, so I don't know why you'd call them names. There's going to be a place where some people are trolling or purposely, causing him issues. And that, I guess I can understand why you get frustrated, but there are going to be other times that I've seen him say things about players for just making bad plays that I really didn't agree with. And, it's okay. Doesn't make him a bad person, doesn't mean I hate him. It's just something that I try not to do, and I think if we kind of got away from it, it would make the community better. Now, let me get right into why his latest video has some holes in it. His hypothesis is you get punished for playing well and rewarded for playing poorly. Now, I don't doubt that he spoke to a developer that said bad players get better teammates. The game is trying to make matches 50-50. I can get on board with what he's saying here. It's an algorithm and it's pretty good at its job. His solution, however, was rank-based matchmaking. And while I agree this would probably make games more competitive from the standpoint of, players being matched up better, the queue times would be way too long. They actually did this with Legendary Queue. The other Royal made a video where he talks about this, and it got to a point where the queue times were about 20 minutes long at the highest rank. And the fact is, Wild Rift only has about 16 million players, if I'm not mistaken, the last time I checked. League PC, on the other hand, is 153. And so Riot has to mix the ranks with Wild Rift for now to give people games. There are already times where you hit the top ranks or at the top echelon of Grandmaster where you wait 5 to 10 minutes for a solo queue game, or at least I did as an ADC. So while I agree in principle that we should do rank-based matchmaking, we just don't have enough players and it wouldn't work. So the good news is Wild Rift has been steadily growing. If you go to, I think it's activeplayer.io, and it'll show that we've been growing over the last few years that it's been a game and been around. And there's actually a solution that the players can have an impact in, and I'll tell you about that in just a minute. He also mentioned how poor his mental has been this season, and I can agree with this. I think that whatever change that Riot made to matchmaking has had an impact on a portion of the community and has caused them problems and caused them challenges that is coming out in games. It's causing people to int, it's causing people to run it down and make just terrible decisions and ruin other people's games. I think the solution here is getting rid of toxic players. I think those players need to be punished more often and get stricter bans or just straight up bans so they have to start a new account, start from the bottom, and then they're kind of out of your games for a while. And I actually think that even if Darkbreaker was on a team of bad players, so he's the best player by far, they put him with 4 people who aren't as good to try to make the game 50-50, if those players were all trying and didn't run it down and just destroy the game for him, I think he'd be okay with losing. I don't want to speak for him because honestly I never talked to him ever, and I don't know him that well other than watching his content, but it's far more tilting for me to lose a game where somebody is inting than a game where somebody and both the teams are battling it out. It's going back and forth, it's an exciting match, and really anybody can win. I mean, those are some of the most enjoyable games, and even when you lose, you respect your team for it. And that's going to lead me to my final point, and something that's super important to me. We need to be better as a community. The Wild Rift community has so much toxicity in it. It can be brutal to play games sometimes. Like, you're just trying to enjoy yourself and have a good time. And I understand ranked is competitive, but then you get somebody that runs it down. You get somebody that picks a totally off meta champion and doesn't even try with them. And it can be one of the most stressful things that happens to you all day is, this stupid game of Wild Rift where this guy runs it down and just causes you to have, a terrible mental game, and then you have to stop playing, I guess, which is something you're trying to do to have fun, and it doesn't end up working out. I wish Riot would do more to punish those players. And the other thing I wish is that the big creators would sort of do more to clean up the community. I sincerely doubt Darkbreaker or any of the big players in the space are going to watch this, but if they do, I would love to talk to them about how we can make the community better. If we got toxicity from the game, this would easily be the best MOBA that ever existed, and I actually think the best game that was ever made. This is how we help Wild Rift grow. We get to a point of rank-based matchmaking and solve the issue of uneven teams. We help the community grow because the thing that turns people off from Wild Rift is the fact that the game's toxic. If people didn't run it down, if people didn't troll, people would love the game in general. There's always going to be people that are miserable no matter what you do or no matter how good the game is, but the community would grow so much faster than it already is. Let me know, comment down below. I want to know what your thoughts are. I want to know, what do you think of Darkbreaker's take? What do you think of my take? Am I totally off base? I'm open to some pushback on some of my ideas and discussion about this because anything that makes the game more enjoyable for all of us is going to be what's best for the game and best for the community, and that's ultimately what I want. Hopefully I see you on the Rift. GG.